Welcome to, as customary, the season 2 wrap-up of the Criminal Connection podcast. We've had some ridiculously muggy comments, and we've had some great comments, and we've had a few questions. So we're here to answer them all. Jay Cartwright on testosterone. You people. Who's sending this to Carlton then, with a smiley face? I mean, I'm sure Carlton's seen it because he's obsessed with the Criminal Connection podcast. Do you think he would beat Tony Tucker in a bare knuckle? I mean, is Putin worse than Dougie Joyce? Let us know below. 2 clowns, 1 podcast. Oh. If Carlsberg did Bellends, it's criminal to call him a criminal. Well, it's not really, because he is a criminal. He's in jail. I think Brian Richardson would be a very interesting conversation about Bernard. And on the subject of Bernard, but he's actually coming back to do a part 2. And I'm sure lots of people are going to be asking me to take it down, but that ain't going to happen. Welcome to, as customary, the season 2 wrap-up of the Criminal Connection podcast. This season's been epic. We've had 12 amazing guests, but a little bit like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Obviously, some flavours, some guests you may or may not like. You know, we don't actually endorse or support all of our guests' views and opinions, but we have them on for entertainment purposes. That's what it's all about. It's about the Criminal Connection. So if you're a criminal, you're welcome to come on and tell your stories. If you're an actor that plays a criminal, you're welcome to come on and tell your stories. If you're law enforcement, you're welcome to come on and tell your stories. And obviously, we like to bring these stories to your attention, and we like to hear your comments and your thoughts. We like you subscribing and sharing our content. But this season, we've had the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've had some ridiculously muggy comments, and we've had some great comments, and we've had a few questions. So we're here to answer them all. So let's get going. So our first guest was Emilio di Giovanni. He was one of the main guys at the 'Ndrangheta mafia crime family throughout the 70s. His daughter, Marissa, came on, and she kindly let us make Emilio an offer we couldn't refuse. He come on. It was the first podcast he's ever done. If you've not had a chance to watch his podcast yet, make sure you do, because his stories are unbelievable. I mean, he's actually a movie. So I want to address a few of the comments that we had. One of them, quality guests again, Terry, because we obviously had Emilio and his daughter Marissa on, because she had to obviously translate, because obviously he speaks Italian and broken English. So that's why we had 2 guests instead of 1. 2 for the price of 1. That bald geezer on the right, is he the life support machine for the Tony Tucker wig? Well, yes, I am. The secret's out. I'm probably not going to be playing Tony Tucker again. But, you know, I was the life support machine for Tony Tucker's wig. The next comment is from Tony Eats 1751. I just read up. He became an informed. That's why he's out. Well, you've obviously done some amazing research, and you obviously know things that nobody else knows in the world. So if you could do us a massive favour, Tony Eats, and actually send us the links, or share them in the comments below, that'd be amazing. Because as far as we're aware, and as far as Emilio's aware, that didn't happen. So Moose Master 96 says, you're unlikely to ever sit down with someone so high up in the organised crime world. You're sitting with the big leagues, Terry. I'd be shitting myself. Best podcast yet. So Moose Master, you're saying it's unlikely that I'm ever going to be sitting with anybody so high up in the organised crime world. Well, you haven't seen the season 3 guest yet, have you, son? Well, have you ever thought that Emilio might have been sitting down, shitting himself, thinking he's going to be sitting with a Podfather? There's always that possibility. Best podcast yet? I have to say I agree. So the next comment, which I'd say is probably the most moronic and muggy comment, or one of season 2's, is from a guy called, or a woman called BG-EF8SK. I mean, just by that handle, you just think there's something wrong with this person. But they are saying, are you going to let your guest speak in his podcast, or is it going to be the usual you speaking about yourself for 98% of the interview? Well, I haven't actually ever done that on any of the interviews, but if you'd actually listened to it or watched it, which I probably doubt you even did, you're probably just one of these divs that goes on a keyboard and spends your life just trolling people. I'd say I probably only spoke for about 3 or 4%. I think Marissa and Emilio spoke for 96% of the interview. But I mean, have a listen if you've got the time. I mean, maybe just, watch it and make some notes on it and then, share the percentage with us, because I'm sure everybody will find that really fucking interesting. So the next comment is from Little Drummer Boy 2907. This guy is so interesting. Great work, Terry. When is Craig Fairbrass coming on? Well, he's going to have to be invited on, isn't he? If he's not invited on, he won't be coming on. So he's going to have to wait for his invitation. And then if he accepts, he'll be on. So Jack Barfoot 168 said, Princess Mafia is only one of a few books I've read all the way through. Can't believe, Terry, you're the fucking man for getting this interview. What a ledge. And done really well too, mate. The Podfather's got some mob connections. What you going to do? So our second episode guest was my good pal Josh Myers. I've starred in a few movies with him. We've had a great relationship over the years. And, I think that really did lead to him being open and honest and sharing things with us that he may not necessarily share, about his daughter and obviously her blindness, his battles with depression and drugs. He's had a tough life, but he's come through it and he's still smashing it. And I'm proud of him. And I'm glad he came on the show and shared his story with us. Mr. Russo. So George Russo, a great podcast from my pal, a sweetheart of a human being. That's very kind of you to say that, George, and he is. So that was a lovely comment. So the next message is from Andrew White 6775. Thank you. Very enjoyable. Josh is brilliant. He's open and honest. It's nice to listen to someone that's so genuine. Terry, I'm a big fan of yours, so please keep those movies coming. Every movie you've made or been involved in, I've seen. A big thumbs up to both of you. A big thumbs up to you, Andrew. Appreciate your support, brother. This was actually one of my favourite podcasts, the Josh Myers episode. When you get to, interview people that you've worked with and you're friends with, it's so great because you've got so much history there. So thank you for your positive comment and glad you enjoyed it. So the next comment is from our main man and Criminal Connection, super fan and super supporter, Pablo. Thank you so much for always joining us every Sunday for the live chat. And you've sent this great message. Another belt of a podcast, Terry. Keep them coming. We will do. We will not let you down, Pablo. Kenny's Ghost better be in Rise IB for Imagine It like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, can you imagine a ghost of Josh Myers going, do the coke, Tony, do the coke back. I mean, it'd be great, wouldn't it? It'd be great. Let's hope he comes back as the ghost invited to the first Ultra Ibiza. The next comment is from Lucy-EK6NE. Now we're talking a bit of eye candy. I'm not sure who you're talking about, Lucy. I mean, obviously, it's probably going to be me, but I've got some really bad news for you. I'm married, so you can look, but you can't touch. So that's the end of the comments for Josh Myers, episode 2. Again, there was no muggy comments, which is appreciated. Obviously, Josh did share some pretty personal and some pretty harrowing stories. If you haven't had a chance to see this podcast episode yet, make sure you tune in because it is really good. And I think you will like it. So our next guest, episode 3, was marvellous Marvin Herbert. He has been a figure of the podcast community. He's been on, pretty much every podcast going. He's got some amazing stories. He's had an amazing life. He is the real deal. And he has definitely earned his stripes. So having him on the podcast, a few people was going, we've already heard his story, but I definitely think we did a deep dive, baby, on Marvin, and we had a good crack, and we did we did talk about some stuff that I've never heard him talk about on any other podcast, so there's definitely some golden nuggets in there, and I want to go straight into the comments. So we had one from user-VU6ZV60Y9C. Why can't you just call yourself Fred or something? It'd be a lot fucking easier, all right? Jesus, change that hoodie. Let me let you into a little secret about Marvin. Anybody that, knows about Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg knows that in their wardrobe they have all the same clothes. I think Marvin has got more than one hoodie, but he has them all in the same colour. But I'm going to let you into a little secret. He may not be wearing that blue hoodie for very much longer because we have got a really exciting announcement. We are announcing the Criminal Connection merchandise range for season 3. So Marvin will no doubt be popping up on all these podcasts now and on social media in a Criminal Connection hoodie, and you'll be able to get one as well, and you can join the CCP family, fly the flag, and be involved. So we got a comment from Plymouth Rock 5281. Come on, MTK was all about helping the boxer. That's a bit naive. But let me tell you something, if you know anything about boxing, you'll know that the boxing world is full of sharks. So if you're in a shark-infested environment, you definitely want to be swimming with a great white. MTK was definitely the great white. From everything I've heard, the boxers got protected, they got treated fairly, they got paid properly. Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, there is a lot of world champions that was with MTK. So if they were that bad, I very much doubt, they'd be with MTK. Obviously, MTK is no more because of the allegations and the organised crime links. But MTK was definitely all about helping the boxers and, protecting them and making sure they got paid, as far as I'm aware. But saying all that, if you'd like to find out more about MTK and the men behind MTK, drop us some comments below. Obviously, having any of the Kinahans on as a guest would be amazing. They've all got an open invitation to come and sit on the Criminal Connection podcast anytime they like. But if you'd like to see them on, or if you've got any things you'd like to know about MTK, or there's anybody else that we can interview from that organisation, then do drop us a comment below, and we'll see if we can get them on the show. So the next comment is from Neil Mulligan 4358. What a fan pot, Concord for my beefer, having vans. Do me a favour, believe this fan pot, what a mackerel. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, English wasn't your strongest subject, was it, mate? Fucking hell. I don't think Concord did fly to Ibiza. I could be wrong. So you might have a point there. You obviously don't like Marvin. But, if you want to share your thoughts with him, he is on Instagram, so you can always drop him a message. So the next comment is from Daft Scouser 5255. It should be daft, as in D-A-F-T, not daft. What I like about Marvin is the amount of bullshit stories he tells. I mean, seriously, how the fuck would you know? I'm, just putting it out there. Drop us a comment below. Luke Jones 6813. Sean Atwood saying you broke into his house. I've never broken into Sean Atwood's house. But if you're saying Marvin broke into Sean Atwood's house, I mean, that is obviously the danger of doing a podcast from your house, inviting crazy people into your house. What could possibly go wrong? So we got a message from Chewing Tunes. Likes the sound of his own voice, doesn't he? Don't know if that's me or Marvin, but I put it out there that we probably both like the sound of our own voices. That's why we talk so much. Royal Oil 3471. The book should be called Remember When That Never Happened. I mean, that is such a great name for a book. I mean, you're wasted on air, mate. You should be in marketing. You'd be a genius. Phil Smith 622 says, wasn't the business film based on him who Tamer Hassan played? I don't think the business film was based on Marvin Herbert. Marvin Herbert was in Marbella, but the business film was, I think it was largely made up, and there was a few true stories taken to blend it in there, but it wasn't based on Marvin Herbert. Mark Wolves 9498. You can just tell Marvin would have been a proper nightmare to have as an enemy. That is correct. You probably wouldn't be able to outrun him or outfight him. It would be a nuisance when you wake up at 3 a.m. and he's standing over your bed. It wouldn't be much fun. Oh, God, there's another one of these people. User-HG9FV4UF8C. Please, just call yourself Fred or John or Terry or Trevor. Be a lot easier. This guy Marvin, as an unbelievable Walter Mitty. I think what you're saying is this guy Marvin is an unbelievable Walter Mitty. Well, he fucking isn't a Walter Mitty. I don't know where some of you people get this shit from that you sort of write on these comments, but drop him a line and find out. Right, so we've got a comment from A09021983. Who could play young Marvin in a movie of his life? This would be a great film. I mean, I agree. It'd be a great film. I mean, if you put a wig on me and I had a bit of Botox, maybe I could play young Marvin, but failing that, I think Noel Clarke would be a good shout. You know, it depends whether you want someone who actually looks like him or somebody that you just cast a plan. But I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So why don't you put some comments below, because Marvin is developing a script about his life. Any thoughts for who could play Marvin in the movie? I think we could share it with Marvin, and I think your wish could be made true. GBSI7DB, he would not have stopped his life of crime if he had not been shot. I've heard his stories before, it changes all the time. Well, you know, he obviously doesn't just have one story. He has multiple stories. So just because, you know, you've heard a different story doesn't mean, you know, he's changing the stories. You know, I think being shot in the eye would probably make you slow down on your life of crime. But as far as I'm aware, he didn't stop at that moment. He carried on for a few years after that. So I don't think it stopped him. Barney boy, he saw the bullet coming. Ha ha ha. Oh, for fuck's sake, stop, my size can't take anymore. Ha ha. I mean, yeah, it's a kind of weird comment to make, you know, when somebody's been shot in the eye. He saw the bullet coming. Now, I don't know if you actually saw the bullet coming. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing, isn't it? I mean, being shot in the eye. I mean, I would imagine if it happened so quick and you just got pain in the eye and you was like, what the fuck's going on? And I think Marvin did say that. I think he did actually say that. He was like, what the fuck? And then when he realised he was still alive, he was like, did you just fucking shoot me in the eye? I mean, you know, it's like a scene in a movie. You could actually imagine that dialogue being said. So Barney boy, 2 comments. He's on the record saying he's making things up to make money. Okay, so do you think he made up that he got shot in the eye? Do you think he's actually took his own eye out, you know, just so he can pretend he got shot in the eye? I mean, you know, you people. And I'll tell you what, if he is making things up to make money, I mean, what a fucking great actor. I mean, I think Marvin could actually play himself in a movie. Darren Crane 6299. After listening to this and a year he was looking for the mug leech, he latched on to me in Southend and started staying at my flat, and then moved in with a gambazzi. He was scared because his old crew from East London f***ing off for being a grass. The truth is slowly coming out. I don't think, and I've never heard that Marvin's a grass, so I don't know where this has come from. I take it you don't like, when you say the mug leech, I take it you're talking about Carlton. Yeah, I mean, bizarre comment, but thanks for sharing that with us, Darren. So TechnoJoe 4079. This is much better than having that Atwood on. Nice podcast. I actually thought Sean Atwood was an interesting guest, and he's actually done. I mean, he's probably one of the oldest podcasters on YouTube, you know, and I think he's got a great story. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I thought that episode was good. So sorry you didn't like it, TechnoJoe, but appreciate your comments as always. Ear3215, the one person that made me go legit. Ha ha ha. I know, he's such a good guy. All the best, Marv. So knowing that these guys and girls are actually, you know, changing their path, they're going legit, they're trying to, you know, move on from their lives of crime. And the fact that you're also commenting on this and getting inspired by it warms the Podfather's heart. So the next comment is from the KTM kid. I've got to say, I've never watched one of your podcasts before, Terry, and I aren't sure why, because this is fucking mega. Well, thank you so much for your amazing comment. Do you know what? It's probably because we've only been going 6 months, but a little bit like Rupert the Bear, everybody is going to know the Criminal Connection and the Podfather's name. And watch out for season 3, because it is going to be even mega. It's going to be like double mega, triple mega, quadruple mega. So Nishki has sent this message, sitting at home with the flu, and this podcast has made my day and given me motivation to get back at it ASAP. When you say get back at it, I don't know if that means getting back at it as in you're doing something that's illegal or doing something that's good. So happy that this podcast has cured you. I mean, you know, I think this podcast has got medicinal properties. It's sort of like we can heal people, we can cure people of the flu, we can motivate people. I mean, this is good shit. So some capybara, who's sending this to Carlton then with a smiley face? I mean, I'm sure Carlton's seen it because he's obsessed with the Criminal Connection podcast. even though he won't come on and be interviewed with me in a mankini. But I'm sure he's seen it. I don't think you need to send it to him. But if you want to send it to him, be my guest. Adrian McGowan, why did you start shaving your head? I'll tell you why. When I turned 40, and I only look 39, I went grey and my hair started to recede a little bit. So I had to go to the hairdressers and have my hair dyed. Sitting in a hairdresser for 3 hours waiting for your hair to dye back to its original colour is a waste of your life. And I thought, I don't want to be that guy that has a big ponytail but's completely bald at the front. So I shaved it all off. Everyone said I looked like Vin Diesel. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep it short. We got a message from Dave. You know what I love about these podcasts the most? The fact they turn their lives around and helping others not go down the same road. I mean, to be honest, Dave, you know, the intention of this podcast was just to talk to these people and share the stories, but nearly all of our guests practice what they preach. You know, they do say being a criminal's a mug's game. They do say if they could have changed their lives, they would have gone down a different path. And I think a lot of them are trying to inspire others, whether it's by going on a podcast, whether it's by doing public speaking or going back into the prisons to try and talk some sense into people in not going down that wrong path. So appreciate you've noticed that, Dave. And, you know, it was pretty unintentional on our path, but, yeah, that seems to be the ongoing theme of anybody that's done any serious time. So Rob's715 said this is by far the best podcast with Marvin I've seen, and one of, if not the best podcast in general. I would say it is the best podcast in general, but I'm biased, obviously. But yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I've seen a lot of interviews with Marvin, and I think, you know, I've known Marvin a few years. We've always sort of got on and been mates. You know, they say styles make fights. Well, styles also make podcasts. So if you're with the right guys, you can have a great time. So Skies UK, hi Terry, I've watched this again, mate, for the second time from start to finish. It just gets better every time you watch it. Just a bloody brilliant piece of work. Keep up the good work, Paul. Paul, we will be doing that. Don't you worry. I think what we've always tried to do with the Criminal Connection podcast is we've tried to make a film, right? So it's a documentary film that you watch and you laugh, you might cry, but you're definitely going to be entertained. So that's the intention. And I think if you watch a good movie, it's the same thing. So I'm glad that you've watched it more than once. And I'm glad that you're enjoying what we do. Thanks, Paul. Ernsey boy. Currently got my feet up in the Maldives and still listening. Great series and absolutely fascinating stories. I know we get about, but I mean, the Maldives, I mean, that's a fucking place, right? So you've heard it here first. The Criminal Connection podcast is in the Maldives, baby. Episode 4 saw my co-star in Rise of the Foot Soldier Origins, Ms. Rachel Warren, joining us on the sofa, talk about her career and obviously talk about all the funny times, all the Cockney rhyming slang that she endured on Rise of the Foot Soldier Origins. Great episode, great fun to talk to her. Yeah, she's become a good friend of mine. So yeah, there was lots of fun, lots of surprises, lots of secrets talked about in that episode. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you do. So going straight back into the comments, John Nicholson 449. I want to see Tony Tucker be a tree. I think lots of people would love to see that. It'd be a weird tree with a blonde wig and a muscle suit. But I'm sure at some point in the future there will be Tony Tucker as a tree coming to a movie screen near you. And if that comment doesn't make any sense to you whatsoever, you need to watch the episode to find out what it's all about being a tree. So we got a little message here from Chris Fenton 15. Hi Terry, have been hooked on the amazing content and the calibre of guests. Have all 6 films. I'm waiting for news on the 7th, which I hope there will be. Keep it up, and before long, everyone will know who's the new Podfather in town is. I think everybody knows there's only one Podfather. There's only one. But no, I appreciate your comments. And yeah, I mean, I think they are going to be making another Rise of the Foot Soldier film. I don't know who's going to be in it. But, you know, keep your eyes peeled and watch this space. Retro Stuff 10. Loving the podcast, Terry. Very chill conversation. Keep them coming. I think Brian Richardson would be a very interesting conversation about Bernard. Brian Richardson, who is Craig Rolfe's brother, has actually reached out and he's actually coming on. So watch this space and let's hear what Brian's got to say. We got a little message here from Cheryl Raymond. Got to be the most entertaining podcast ever. And I don't do podcasts at all. Interested to hear the stories. Doing a great job. You are a natural. Cheryl, thank you so much for saying those kind words. I'm glad you're enjoying what we're doing. And make sure you tune in to season 3 because there's going to be even more epic guests, even more hilarious banter, and everything that makes the Criminal Connection great. Scott Ace MacGyver. Great interview. Lovely to see Rachel. Keep up the great work, Terry. Yeah, Rachel's great. Obviously, when you speak to her in real life, she's a little bit different to Lucy in Rise of the Foot Soldier Origins. So, as I said, if you haven't seen the episode, make sure you tune in. I think you'll enjoy it. So, episode 5 saw a legend of the SAS, Rusty Firman. Rusty Firman was watching a darts championship when the Iranian embassy siege happened. He got the call. He had to go and wipe out a few bad guys who were committing crimes of terror against the British government and the Iranian embassy. So he had no gloves. So he just went in there without any gloves on and killed loads of people. So he's had many books written and he's had an actual film made with Jamie Bell playing him in the film. One of their greatest episodes, hearing about, some of this legend from the SAS's stories. It's a must-see. So if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you tune in. That's a great episode. So we're going to go into the comments. Yogi22727, the foot soldier rose to the SAS. Nice one, Terry. Thanks, you and Rusty, for a great, honest, raw interview. Respect from Yogi. Well, Yogi, you may not know this, but I'm very close to the SAS and Hereford. I've done a lot of stuff with them over the years. And Rusty is just one of SAS guests that's coming on. We will be revealing more in due course. But yeah, he was a great story. And the fact that he's had books and movies made about him, and he's probably lived through some of the SAS's most famous missions. I mean, hearing his stories was epic. So Craig Neal, that needs to be on a T-shirt. Rusty, don't fucking dance. That was probably one of the funniest comments he made in the interview, and he actually said that to Billy Elliot, because who was played by Jamie Bell playing him in the movie. So I mean, to go from being a ballet dancer to an SAS killer is obviously a bit of a jump. So I think that was Rusty being tongue-in-cheek with Jamie, but that was a great quote. Rob's 2000 mugged yourself right off in his interview, Terry. Thank you so much, if you say so. TY823, just random, but have you ever thought of acting Jack Womes to talk? We have. Jack and John Womes and Mickey Steele would all be great guests, but obviously they're still campaigning their innocence, and I think Jack and Mickey, there is some sort of legal thing where they can't publicly go on podcasts and TV shows and talk, and we haven't actually seen Jack or Mickey do that, so there must be some truth in that. So we've got a little comment here from Moose Master. I rescind my previous comment, as you can't really compare Emilio to an SAS legend, so this is my favourite one so far by one of your law-abiding guests. Thank you, Terry, for remaining consistent. The pod hasn't lost its way at all. It's progressed, and that has been one of my concerns. Keep doing it exceptionally, Podfather. Well, thank you so much. I think to go from Emilio to an SAS legend to other legends, that's what we're all aiming to do. We're always aiming to deliver outstanding guests, outstanding content, and where we can, exclusive guests. So our mid-season guest was no other than Mr. Loverman, Yammy B, and he come on and he's got some great views, loads and loads of comments. Going into the comments, Goldie3714, the exclusive Essex boy stuff. Shame, I'll be able to destroy it in seconds. Smiley face. Well, Goldie, it's been, 6 weeks now, mate. And where is the comments? Where is the stuff that you're going to destroy? I think you're just another one of these Essex boys, conspiracy theorists, wannabes, whatever. But still waiting for you to destroy it, mate. So if you can drop us a line in the comments below, that'd be very useful. With Yammy B, obviously he was inside with Pat Tate. He's been around the prison system for 4 decades. He's probably become, I wouldn't say associated with, but he's definitely been around lots and lots of criminals and villains. Very well-known ones. He knows the Essex Boy stuff in and out. He's got his views on it. Some of you may not agree with it. Make sure you watch the episode because he has got some interesting takes on it and some interesting stories that he's not shared before. M3 SSC, the king of clubs, rapidly becoming king of the podcast. I will take that. Raw Dog 1, people that wear caps over their ears with 4 smiley faces. You may not have thought about this, but it might be because they've got big fucking ears. That's why they wear a cap over them, so that they don't offend you with their big ears. Return of the Ready. Imagine sharing a cell with Eubank, another banging podcast. Yammy B is mad interesting. He's definitely mad and he's definitely interesting. So I've got to agree with you. And he was a great guest. So Improve Quickly had some great comments. Aren't you related to the long fella? Headhunters is West Ham. He was called Build a Bomb because he blew things up. I flew off my bunk, landed on my head, then I had a spiritual awakening. Classic episode. Well, we're aimed to please here. So, yeah, I mean, I was sort of being sarcastic with the Build a Bomb comment, but I think if you were called Build a Bomb, you'd expect him to be blowing things up, right? Asper 8121. Terry didn't know cat A's don't share shells. Ha ha ha. But made money off it. Ha ha. Well, I've never been in prison, mate, so why would I know that cat A's don't share cells? I mean, you know, it's hardly like something that you'd need to know if you went on fucking Mastermind, is it? And every day's a school day. If you're not learning, you're not earning, right? And for me, I learned something new that day. And I'm sure you did too. So there's a guy called Nizzle6588. I want to get behind this channel, and Terry's a diamond geezer, but a constant, you know, I just can't cope with it with 3 smiley faces. I mean, people do just, you know, people have these like things they say, and I just like to say, you know, a lot, you know. But if I don't say, you know, on an episode, would it help you? Let me know in the comments below. Good old Pablo's back. CCP family love. If you know, you know. And we have got a great community here. You know, we've got some real hardcore fans. We've got some great people who join us for the live chats. And we've got lots of people who make positive comments. And we've got lots of divs that make negative comments. But we love them all. So it's all love. JWSQ4PL. How many times has Bernard asked to take this down? Honestly, let me tell you something. Bernard O'Mahony does not give a fuck about what anybody says or what anybody does about him online. And he's quite like, if somebody's got something to say to me, come and say it to my face. Nobody does. You've got to respect Bernard for that. Bernard would never ask for anything to be taken down. And on the subject of Bernard, he was only ever going to do one podcast, but he's actually coming back to do a part 2 in season 3. He's literally spent probably about a month going through all of the bollocks and all of the hate. And he's going to actually answer a lot of you personally. And he's also going to bring some things to light about lots of different people who always spend their sort of pastimes cutting him off online. So I'm sure that episode is going to definitely make lots of people smile. And I'm sure lots of people are going to be asking me to take it down, but that ain't going to happen. Liam Hart, bro, just started the vid. 56, bro, I'd have took 10 years off my guy. And they say prison ages you. What's his secret, law? I would say it's probably not being out in the sun. You know, the sun ages you. So unless you put on Factor 50 sun cream, you are going to age. So I'd say probably being banged up 23 hours a day had a lot to do with that. So I'm not suggesting that going to jail is going to be a good thing, but it will probably save you a bit of money on moisturiser and sun cream. Dundee FC, excellent podcast, really enjoyed it, but can we get Carlton on and break the internet? I did invite him on, and he politely declined. And in life, you know, you don't really get a second chance. You know, if you don't take opportunities the first time they're offered, they don't come around again. So, unfortunately, I don't think Carlton's going to be coming on the Criminal Connection podcast anytime soon. Ross Williams, 6090. Hardest man in the ICF in Carlton's day was Matthew Thomas. I don't know who Matthew Thomas is. I know who Andy Swallow is. I know who Vic Dark is. And I would probably have my money on Vic Dark. But I don't know who Matthew Thomas is, but he could be Superman. But I don't know him. But that's my thoughts anyway. Zati Smola. Terry's got the classic 90s doorman's laugh What a great time. Full of character and straight shooters. Keep up great work. You know, it is. I mean, you know, I was actually on the door in the 90s and I was putting raves on in the 90s. And I think the laugh was what has got through some of the fucking dark, crazy shit. So, yeah, we've had some fun. And appreciate you recognising that. And glad my laugh makes you laugh. Dan Dawson, I spent time with Yammy in a couple of prisons and he's legit and don't judge a book by its cover. A truly dangerous man and the strongest man pound for pound I've ever seen. Unbelievable madman strength. Yeah, I mean, I took Yammy as I saw him. I saw him pop up on social media. I saw him on YouTube. I always thought he was a funny guy. He had some crazy stories. And that's one of the reasons why, through a mutual friend, Andrew Pritchard, he said you should get Yammy on. And, you know, I'm glad I did because I enjoyed interviewing him and I'm glad that I now know him and can count him as a friend. Lazo, Lazo, la, 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 la. Or Laszlo. Try saying that when you've had a few drinks. Best impression of Frank Bruno I've ever seen. Or what about this one? Frankly, it's not HP. Any good? Charles Wilson 9885. Love him or hate him, he's one honest guy. Great interview too, mate. It's strange how no one got a good word to say about Bomb. I know who Bomb is. I think he means Bernard Mahoney. Lots of people have got good words to say about him, but there's a few people that don't like him, don't agree with him. But the one thing about Bernard is he just says it how it is, you know, and he just seems to me to be, you know, he just tells it how it is, and maybe that's why people don't like him. So in episode 7, we had the legendary barrister, Tony White. Now, Tony White pretty much saved Anthony Joshua's boxing career. He's defended pretty much every major criminal there is around. He's married to the lady behind Clive Christensen, Perfumes and Luxury Kitchens. He is also a famous crime writer and he's had best-selling books. So this particular guest was a real coup. And if you've not had a chance to watch that episode, make sure you do, because he has been described as the Better Call Saul. But obviously they say Better Call Tony. Barrister, crime writer, kitchen designer, perfumier. He's got access to all sorts of things. So make sure you tune into that episode because that was a really good one. Our good pal, Lee Chapman, actually made a comment. This was my favourite. I don't normally comment, but this guy was very good. Thanks, Lee. And I'm looking forward to having you back on the show. And obviously, many people won't know this, but Lee's young son, who was one of the main reasons he came on the podcast, unfortunately died. And we're basically going to bring Lee back. And Lee is going to be doing a part 2 and talking about lots of things and revealing lots of things that he didn't in the first one. And obviously, we're going to be dedicating that episode to his son, in his son's memory. Make sure you tune in because that is going to be epic. And that is in season 3. Chris Oates, you need a few ornaments on them shelves, Tony. They're looking bare. The shelves may be looking a little bit bare there, Chris. And my name's not Tony. That's the character I play. My name's actually Terry, a.k.a. the Podfather. We've actually been nominated for 4 awards at the True Crime Awards. So I think that on the left, we're going to have the True Crime Awards. And on this side, because the channel's growing exponentially, when we get 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers, 10 million subscribers, we will have all our YouTube plaques on this side. So watch this space. So the Invisible Man 2900 said, excellent, really enjoyed this one. He's 100% correct what he says about Fury and Usyk. Do you know something? I don't think Usyk is in Fury's head. I think Fury is probably one of our best heavyweight boxers. You know, he's up there with Muhammad Ali, with Joe Frazier, you know, George Foreman, you know, Mike Tyson. I mean, you know, he's one of the all-time greats. You know, everyone said Wilder was going to kill him, and he beat him up, and then he stopped him. And you know, all 3 fights, in my opinion, he won. I mean, the last 2 he dominated. And I think what he's going to do with Usyk is the same thing. I've said this already. I think he's just, I mean, you know, if you look at him, he's in the shape of his life. And I think he's going to stop Usyk. So let's see if I'm right. User BZ4JP. Terry, great interview. Variety is the spice of life. Keep them coming, buddy. You are correct. And that is why we don't just have criminals on. We love law enforcement. We love barristers. We love just mixing it up. So thank you for the comment. Episode 8 saw us interviewing Dougie Joyce. Definitely, probably one of our most Marmite guests. We interviewed him well before he had the incident that's been all over the press of him, obviously, fighting with a 78-year-old man. He was convicted and put in jail, and he's still in jail now, serving a lengthy prison sentence for the crime he committed. We took a decision that we're a Criminal Connection podcast. We're not a jury, we're not a police force, and we wanted to share his story. We thought his stories were interesting. We've had a lot of comments on this. I think one of them, amidst all of the sort of negative comments, was from Lee MCL. I think everyone in the comments here is forgetting one crucial thing, and it's this: remember, Dougie Joyce loves you. That did actually make me chuckle, because lots of people were, outraged by putting out this episode. But again, we're not trying to win a popularity contest. We're interviewing criminals, and some people are gonna, is a murderer or a mafia boss who's killed millions of people, thousands of people, are they better criminals? Are they? I mean, they're all criminals at the end of the day, right? But now we're going to go into the less pleasant comments. Unsubscribed, Clipzilla95. Now, what I find highly amusing about people that type unsubscribed is that most of them weren't subscribing in the first place, and it's that sheep mentality. They do it, but they don't mean it. They still watch it, and I don't get it. We're actually giving this stuff away for free, and just because you don't like one of the guests doesn't mean you have to unsubscribe. It doesn't mean that you have to tell everybody you're unsubscribing. You can subscribe or unsubscribe. New subscriber, mate. Thank you. See, not everyone's unsubscribing. Wayne Keith 4952 unsubscribe, triple exclamation mark. So that may mean he unsubscribed 3 times, or he didn't unsubscribe, but he was telling everybody to unsubscribe because he's really angry. Ready Hustle 2474. If Jake, Paul, and Jay from the In-Betweeners had a love child, this, ladies and gentlemen, would be the end product, pure melt of a man. I kind of think this is funny, and if you went on the stage telling jokes, Ready Hustle, I think people would find you very funny. But if you ever saw Dougie Joyce, I wouldn't actually go up to him and make this joke, because I don't think you'd have a particularly happy ending. I feel the Need for Speed 1. Dance for 2 hours. I believe that. Him, Peter, with glow sticks. Now that is a video I'd like to see. Peaceful Hooligan 5772. 2 clowns, 1 podcast. Ben's 169. This was one of my favourite comments. Don't have him on tone. Think of all the ag he caused you. The only ag he's caused me is it's meant that I've spent longer replying to people's comments than I normally do. But I like taking a risk, and I think putting that episode out, listen, there's lots of lovers, there's lots of haters. I mean, it's had 160,000 views now, so somebody must fucking like it. Jack Porter 3194. Do you think he would beat Tony Tucker in a bare knuckle? I think he would, but he might come unstuck against Pat Tate. So Matcha Comia Cole says, going off reading some of these comments, Terry's lucky he didn't do that recent interview with President Putin. You'd have even more folk unsubscribing with a smiley face. I would actually have Putin on if he was a guest, because I actually think he'd be fucking great. I don't know whether, is Putin worse than Dougie Joyce? Let us know below. Doing bits since 81. Going by these comments, there's not a lot of fear or respect around this fella. Is he just chatting shit? I don't think he is. And I know lots of people around Manchester that know him, and I don't think he's chatting shit. So I think there's just a bit of a backlash about him. Would these people say it to his face? Probably not. Joseph 1980, unsubscribed. Thanks for letting us know. Mr. Dunky G, if Carlsberg did Bellends. Man of Kent Catapult, I rarely comment, but every gypsy I've ever met is an undefeated bare knuckle champion. I know quite a few gypsies. I don't remember any of them saying that. Maybe the gypsies I know are different to the gypsies you know. Anthony Cook 6050. Get this whopper off your channel. He could not box toffees. That's actually quite a funny comment. Maybe you should drop him a line when he comes out of jail, Anthony, and meet up with him and find out. Right, Staley John 9347. Only here for the comments, lol. Do you know something? The comments on this episode have been, pretty funny and pretty crazy in places. Try watching the show, though. It's better than the comments. Chris Goodwell, can't take him serious with them Nashers. Dougie has got a Hollywood smile. Unsubscribed, Andy McNabb 2.0. I don't think this is the real Andy McNabb. Unsubscribed, he beat an old man for fuck's sake. Yeah, I mean, he did, and he went to court and he got put in jail and he's doing his time for the crime he committed. I don't know why that make you unsubscribe. It's nothing to do with us. 1 hour, 25 minutes and 18 seconds of utter bullshit, John Parker says. Well, look on the positives, John. It's an hour and 25 minutes and 18 seconds of your life you're never going to get back. Gene4973, Terry, do you realise that it was Peter Fury's son, not the actual Peter Fury, lol? As I said, I didn't know there were two Peter Furys. I only knew senior Peter Fury, who's already come on the podcast. So I didn't know that. He said Peter Fury. He didn't say whether it was junior or senior. So that was it. So it's an easy mistake to make. Furygate, I think we call it. We had Chipgate and we got Furygate. Pippo No One, unsubscribed. You were no one, so who cares? Twin660, the only man born in Manchester with an Irish accent. Top of the morning chair. Tiberius66, it's criminal to call him a criminal. Well, it's not really, because he is a criminal. He's in jail. So for episode 9, we had a legend from the Italian mafia in New York, Micheal Franzese. He was a capo regime. His dad was the underboss of the Colombo crime family. In his heyday, he was earning $8 million a week. He was on the Forbes rich list. And the stuff that we talked about, he hasn't talked about on the podcast before, because there's some things that I knew about some of the guys in New York and Vegas that nobody else would know. So we had a good chat about that, and we had a good chat about lots of other things. And we did actually have a real laugh. So if you haven't seen the Micheal Franzese Criminal Connection podcast, make sure you do watch it, because it isn't the same as all the other podcasts talking about the same stuff. Have you killed anybody? What's it like when you got made? We've typically avoided those questions because we just didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. So it's a great show. Make sure you watch it, and make sure you let me know in the comments below the episode what you thought of it. That's what we thrive on. We like hearing your comments and feedback. So going into the comments, Scarfy1983, Micheal Franzese, watch Tony Tucker. He's a loose cannon. That is true, but I didn't have my wig on. If I'd have had the wig on, it would have been a different interview. But as it happens, the Podfather interviewed Micheal, and we did have a really good laugh. So, thanks for your comment, Scarfy. Jden Tate 608, how can you go from Dougie to this guy? Lol, crazy. Well, like I said at the beginning, the Criminal Connection podcast is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. We don't really have any particular order of our guests. We just film them and then put them out in no order. So, it just happens that Dougie was last week and Micheal was this week. Barry Pinney 6723, how did Tell manage to pull this one? Well, as I said, the Podfather is connected. Sean Atwood Official, fantastic interview, Terry. Can't wait to see Micheal on his UK tour this month. Micheal actually was getting on a plane to come here for his tour, and the authorities took his passport, so he didn't actually make it here. But the good news is the show is going back on in May, so by the time you watch this, you'll be able to get tickets for the show and see Micheal live on stage. Appreciate your support, Sean. Thank you so much for hooking me up with Micheal, and really good luck with the tour and everything you do. Sean and Micheal. Andrew, a tremendous interview, Terry, and I love how you let Micheal speak as he does to you. Such a great insight into his life, and your podcast is better than your movies, Terry. Joking aside, hoping to get to go to see Micheal in Glasgow, where we have had Don Cornflakes, but to be in a room with this fella would be powerful. I think he is coming to Glasgow, so that'd be a good show. I mean, I met Micheal on tour when he was here last year, and I've got to say, you're in for a treat. I'm not sure if the podcast is better than the movies, but if you think that is the case, then I will take that all day. Stephen King 884, great podcast, but I honestly couldn't listen to Micheal for over 6 minutes. Is there any chance of making a Dougie Joyce part 2? That would be great. I'm sorry you didn't like Micheal. I think when Dougie Joyce comes out of jail, there's a good chance we will do a part 2, and we will cover, obviously, what happened with that incident, and we will cover the comments, and we will go into a lot more detail than we did on the first one. Again, sorry you didn't enjoy the Micheal Franzese one, but glad you enjoyed the Dougie Joyce one. David Corbett 341. Terry, get Franzese to watch Rise of the Foot Soldier and see what he thinks of it. He's watched it. He said it was fucking brilliant. And he said, Terry, you're my favourite actor. So, yeah, that's it, basically. Moose Master, become my favourite podcast. You haven't had a single boring guest. Michael's a cool guy, not so scary as Emilio, but he has presence. Appreciate that, Moose. And, yeah, I mean, we do try and keep all the guests entertaining. And I don't think we've had a guest on yet that you could call boring. Maybe people don't like every guest, but I think they've all been pretty cool and pretty exciting and pretty fun. Paul Power. I've watched a number of Michael's podcasts, and this is the best by far. He comes across as a genuine person, a real man. I also think there is stories he would like to tell, but his loyalty still to his father and his associates stops him. Brilliant podcast, mate. There's obviously going to be things that he will talk about, and there's obviously going to be things he won't talk about. Part of it would be loyalty, but the real reason is because he doesn't want to go fucking jail, right? Steve Yard, maximum respect to how you treated Mike so nice, fair play. I always respect all my guests. I always try and have a laugh with all my guests. And yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by people. So whether they're criminals, whether they're actors, whether they're lawyers, whether they're law enforcement, I have an obsession with smart people that have great stories. Traps like Bacon Baps 5563, great name. If Biden says the sun is shining, I'm going to bring an umbrella with me. That was one of Michael's funniest comments, and he's probably right in what he's saying. OSR Silent. Oh my God, I know why I heard that laugh. Tony Tucker, Rise of the Foot Soldier. That's me, baby. Him and all. 909. Michael looks good for 73. I did actually pull him up on that, and I did ask him what his secret was, and I have got some of that face cream and some of that red wine that he makes coming. So that's what he told me was his secret to eternal youth. Boxing 8831. Did you tell him you know Dougie Joyce? I did. And he said, can you tell Dougie that Micheal Franzese loves you? Episode 10 sees us interview Peter Fury. Peter was a criminal legend back in the day in Manchester. And obviously lots of people will know after he did his time, he trained his nephew, which was Tyson Fury. And when Tyson Fury fought Vladimir Klitschko, he won, took the world title belts, and that was mainly down to Peter and his expert training. Yeah, this episode was so good, so entertaining. It's actually been one of our best performing episodes in season 2. So for those of you that know about Peter Fury, you're going to want to watch this. And for those of you who don't, you want to watch this, because this will open your eyes to lots of things that were happening in Manchester, in the North of England. And the guy, he's got some crazy jail stories, and he's obviously got loads of great boxing stories as well. Now we're going to have a look at the comments on episode 10. Justin Mr. 1976. Peter demands respect, an absolute solid fella. I've never disagreed with anything he's ever said. Best guest yet. I agree with this comment. Peter was an absolute legend of a guest. Held himself really well. You know, it was lovely talking to him and actually hearing some of his stories and some of his life experiences. Fernandez Loyal. I can listen to Peter for days without blinking. I mean, he has got such a great voice, hasn't he? And great storyteller. And yeah, I think when you're with him, he's full of, he oozes charisma. Mark Robson, best guest so far. Been watching for a while now. Keep up the good work. Peter Fury, not only a brilliant trainer, but also class act in honesty, who can stand on his mistakes and own up to the things he's done wrong. What a man. And I think that is one of Peter's greatest qualities, you know, the fact that he can go through that experience. He can put his hands up at the end and say, that was a waste of time. You know, if I had my time again, I wouldn't do it. He's a man of God now. But, you know, he still has some amazing stories that he can share. But I think for him, he's training boxers, obviously, to achieve greatness. I think he would definitely be a great advocate for people. I'm sure he's already doing it, but I think if he actually did some public speaking and did some stuff with government, I think that would be good to, you know, make these kids realise when they're growing up that crime doesn't pay, and you know, there's only one way to riches and greatness. I mean, luckily for Peter, he was already an entrepreneur, businessman before he obviously got involved in the nefarious activities, as they say. Frankie Mustafa, another great watch. I do love your quirky replies to some of the serious stuff. Lol, great stuff. I like to get involved in the conversation, so sometimes I just get things in my head and I have to share them, and sometimes they might be funny, sometimes they might be inappropriate, but you know, I think I've got a form of Tourette's where I just come out with some funny stuff, but I don't swear. I just come out with funny stuff. Is that called Tourette's or is that something else? Mental fortitude. Favourite line from this podcast was from you, Terry. You're not going to untoss yourself, are you? It just come to me, you know. So Billy Benham says, I can't stand gangsters or podcasts celebrating them, but he is for real a changed man. He showed no ego and looked immaculate. I'd go out on a tangent and I'd say Peter's probably one of the best dressed men I know. Our podcast was all about interviewing interesting characters and not celebrating what they've done, but talking about what they've done and try and humanise them, you know, because they're all people at the end of the day and they may have done some bad shit, but, you know, if they've come out the other side, realise their mistakes, and then they want to share those stories. You know, one of the consistent themes is you get away with it, you make a bit of fast money, but then you go to jail for 20 years. And then when you come out, you've got nothing. So where they say crime doesn't pay, it's right. Roger Yimon, whoever that is, you say former criminal empire kingpin, as if that's something to be proud of. That is precisely what makes him scum. Right, okay. Roger, who the fuck are you? I mean, that's what he was. So unfortunately, it's nothing to be proud of, but that's what he was. So, you know, if you don't like him because of that reason, fuck you. Roger Cook. I hope this isn't the Roger Cook from the Cook Report. Back on form after Dopey Dougie. Welcome. Enjoyed this both. I actually thought Dougie was a great guest, but sorry you didn't enjoy that episode, but I'm glad you enjoyed this one. Gus Olive. Of the whole pie chart, when you look at it, Peter Fury has 98% of the brain cells, and sadly the interviewer has only 2%, but thank you very much. It was good. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. It may not have occurred to you, but this is my show, and you're watching it. In that fucking result that me with my 2% brain capacity can attract you to sit and watch my show. I'm doing something right. Daniel Hogg. You've dragged poor old Peter down to your level with these silly, mundane questions. This guy is the most interesting and intellectual person you've ever met with. Untold stories and advice to give you. You didn't get a tenth of that information out of him. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I may be overreacting a tad, but I've seen so many interesting 10-minute interviews of Peter Fury, mainly in the boxing realm. I know this could have been so much better with a bit more preparation from the host. I'm so sorry that you don't like my silly, mundane questions. But, you know, the episode is one of our highest performing episodes on the whole season. So, you know, I agree with what you're saying about Peter. He is an absolute legend. But, you know, I don't agree with your comments. I actually think you're a cunt. And I think you should fucking do one. But, you know, all in good jest. So moving on to episode 11, Kevin Lane, always being billed as a contract killer, notorious hitman. Obviously, he did a long time in jail, and he obviously said he was fitted up, and he's written a book about it called Fitted Up and Fighting Back. And he recently, after our podcast, got recalled back to jail. Nothing to do with us. Apparently, he breached his license, or there was something that he did or said that caused the authorities to recall him back to prison. For those of you that don't know what that means, when you get a long prison sentence, effectively a life prison sentence, you get let out on a thing called license. And when you're out on license, it means you have rules that you have to follow. And if you don't follow the rules, you go back to jail and you serve out the rest of your sentence. Now, depending on how bad it was, whatever it was, depends on whether he'll be in for a long time or a short time. But he's recently launched a GoFundMe campaign where he's raising money for his legal fees to help get him back out. But for those of you that know who Kevin Lane is, you will have probably seen him pop up on various podcasts. You will probably know his story, but we did go into some different things and we did actually have a really good laugh. So if you've not had a chance to see the Kevin Lane episode, I can't recommend it highly enough. Make sure you tune in, make sure you check it out. And we're going to go into the comments on that episode. So Ross Boyd 2112 the funniest, annoying laugh ever. Terry Stone, lol. It's like a horror movie laugh. Well, I'm glad you like it, Ross. Dan78, my wife was watching this with me and she said, cool, that Kevin is hot as fuck, lol. Kevin would love to hear that. But yeah, if my wife was watching it and said something like that, I wouldn't be very happy. So you must have a very accommodating and understanding wife because, yeah, if I said that about a woman, I think I'd get a punch in the face. Travel V, he'd be good on the front line in the army. He would be brilliant, actually, because he definitely wouldn't run away, and I think he'd quite enjoy hurting people. So, do you know, so he might have actually missed out. His true vocation could have been maybe in, you know, the Marines or the Parachute Regiment or the SAS or the SBS. You know, if he'd have had a different career, maybe he'd have been better suited in that. So Wayne E. Merrick, a likeable fella, he almost comes across as an anti-hero. Another great podcast. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a likeable fella. He's very charismatic, very funny. I've never had the pleasure of having a night out with Kevin, but I'm sure he would be a laugh a minute. And yeah, he's got some great stories. Anthony B, 5DW, OMG, Terry goes, 2 Tesco's, brings me back to Thornton Heath Lowell. And for those of you that haven't seen the episode, when I was at school and I was young, my mum used to buy my clothes from Tesco's and they used to sing a song to me, which was Terry goes to Tesco's where Real buys his best clothes, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And that's where the 2 Tesco's comes from. If you don't know that song, Google it. And if you want to hear more about the story, make sure you watch the Kevin Lane episode. So Leewee 726, this podcast brought the best out of him. Mad bastard. You know something? I always think when you're talking to somebody, if you are like-minded or you are similar personalities, characters, you gel. And I think, like they say, boxing styles make fights. I think people make people. So I think if you're with the right people and you can have a laugh, I think it definitely comes across on camera and it definitely comes across on a show. So, yeah, I think a lot of the people we've had on the show, whether they're actors, whether they're lawyers, whether they're criminals, you know, they've all, there's an intelligence to them. Nearly all of them have been very charismatic, intelligent, and I think people that are charismatic and intelligent, I'm drawn to because I want to learn from them, you know, whether it's good or bad. Obviously, the bad stuff I don't want to learn, but they still intrigue me, so they all make good guests. User HY2PY, great podcast, Terry. Kevin has been well and truly stitched up here. Let's hope he gets justice. Poor guy. He's sound, you can tell. Again, you know, I don't know, you know, the ins and outs of the case. He basically says he was stitched up. I think the Guardian, Panorama, lots and lots of press and television companies have delved into the research and have come up with a similar conclusion. Again, I don't know enough about it to comment on it, but lots of people say what he's saying and lots of people have evidence to back up what he's saying. So hopefully, if justice hasn't been done, hopefully justice prevails. User BZ4JP, watched that twice. I enjoyed it so much. Terry, keep laughing. It's what makes these interviews. So maybe I should just laugh all the way through the interview so that people laugh throughout, even at the bad bits. But no, I'm glad you watched it twice. And we're actually hearing this a lot now that people are watching the podcast, listening to the podcast and watching it again. So appreciate you coming back and appreciate your comment. El Toro 2000, this podcast is gold, platinum even. So good. This chap is so interesting. Please do another interview with him, Terry. As it happens, El Toro, that will be impossible at the minute because he's back in jail. But obviously when he comes out, he will obviously have more stories to tell. You know, to be honest, we didn't really delve into every single thing. We just had a chat. It was their first one. But I would definitely have Kevin Lane back and appreciate you giving us the gold, even platinum rating. We are aiming to do the best with this podcast. So I appreciate your kind words and support. Dan78, nothing better than watching Terry interviewing someone and Terry cracking up laughing. Absolutely gold. Keep up the great work, mate. Well, thanks again. Obviously, the laugh is what does it, you know. But then I think laughter is the key to life, yeah. You know, they say that it takes less muscles to smile than it does to frown. So if everybody laughed a bit more, maybe, you know, the world would be a better place. So our final guest of season 2 was Injection Shiri Punjab. Jasper Singh Sandhu. He had such a crazy story. I mean, so many crazy stories. And I got introduced to him via a mutual friend. And when I spoke to him on the phone, I thought, this guy's, we've got to get him on the show. He's always on social media. He's always doing these videos about these different people that have upset people and that he's sorting out. And he has got some great stories. There's some funny laugh out loud moments in that episode. But if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, please check it out. We're going to go into the comments now, because this one, I'd say this one and the Dougie Joyce one probably got the most controversial, negative, abusive comments. So even if you don't have time to watch the whole episodes, just scroll down the comments because it'll make you laugh, and then you'll definitely want to watch the episode when you've got some time. A guy called Raj's Anger. Is this a new comedy show? No, it's not. Next question. Whoosh and Push One. Jay Cartwright on testosterone. I mean, if Jay Cartwright took testosterone, would he be like injection? Maybe. I don't know. Scott Ace MacGyver, another totally amazing guest. Keep up the great work. Scott Ace, I've got to say, I thought he was one of the most entertaining guests we've had. I mean, every guest we've had has been good, but he definitely had some great stories and was very engaging. So I'm glad you enjoyed their guest. Alan Higgins, imagine this guy versus Peter Fury. Sorry, Terry, but this is not the one. Obviously, they're two completely different people, completely different cultures. I think if I was going to put money on it, it would be Peter. James Mercer, 1778. Versatility, mate. Great job, Terry. As always, a great watch. Anyone who takes a chair and talks about their lives. I agree with you, James. Yeah, I think anybody that actually sits on that seat and opens up, whether you like them, whether you hate them, whether you think they're full of shit, whether they are full of shit, I don't think it matters. I think, the whole point of interviewing somebody and the whole point of having a podcast is to share stories and share entertainment and to get people talking. And we definitely got it on this episode. Lord Zeus, 6166. Usually when this guy's on a podcast, the comments are limited. Terry, there's still time to limit the comments or delete this interview entirely. Well, we're not going to delete the interview entirely just because you don't fucking like it. And we're not going to limit the comments either because, people are allowed to comment. If people limit comments, that is entirely up to them. But, if every comment on this episode was what an amazing man he is and how great he is and lovely episode, great episode, people would look at it and think, this is odd. Because even on the great episodes we've had negative comments. We've had people calling people cunts and grasses and water mitties and all this fucking shit. So we have to leave them up there because, we don't want to censor people's comments. Our view is if somebody comes on the show, they've got a valid story to share. And whether you like it, whether you hate it, that's their opinion. So, as I said multiple times, we're not running a popularity contest and we're not interviewing a guest and then fact-checking them on Google or ringing the police up saying, did they really commit these crimes? Was he there on this day? And, we're not in that business. We're in the business of entertainment. The Salford Joey. Wow, as if. The guy's a fraud turbo. He was out in line with Chet Sandu, conspiring to make up stories for a TV documentary. I don't know anything about that. Chet's actually coming on the show. I met Injection. I like him. I met Chet. I like him. I mean, do you actually think that every TV documentary and every TV show, film, and reality show is real life? Because let me just break your illusion. It's not. Okay? Truth 1994, surveillance on the police, give it a rest. Well, that's what he said. So if he's not telling the truth, then he's a very naughty boy. TB41, talking nonsense from the start. Love you, Terry. Great character, so not laugh at this donut. Appreciate you love me. I love you too. He's a great character. And again, he's been to jail. His wife, definitely died. He definitely went through a lot of mental health traumas. He definitely tried to take his life. So lots of the stuff that he said was true and it was checked out and it was, real. Some of it may not be. Recollections may vary, as they say. So, his recollections may be different to other people's, but if you Google him, you'll see that he's done a few things in his time. D. Bahara, your greater purpose was to come on his podcast with a smiley face. When he was talking about psychics, I did have to just throw that in because I have got a warped sense of humour. So I'm glad you like that. Azhar Hussein never laughed so much with, I think it's 8 smiley faces. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. Ali Tonzon. Who on earth is scared of this guy? He's so cringe. I mean, I've met him and he's a fucking big unit. I mean, I'm not a small guy, but he is a big unit. Maybe you should drop me a line on Instagram, meet up with him and say it to his face. And I think you might be a little bit scared. Dad187, he admitted to so many crimes that did not happen. I mean, I don't know. I mean, why would you say that you've done things that you haven't done? I mean, it's a bit silly, right? So he must have done some crimes. I mean, he went to jail. Big Joe Howell, this guy is a laughing stock in the Sikh community. He makes lies up as he goes along. Come on, Terry, please do some background checks on these fakes, please. As I said, I got introduced to him by a mutual friend. We had a conversation on the phone. I Googled him. I looked at some of the things he's, done and said. You can't fact check everything somebody says. Otherwise, we wouldn't spend any time making a podcast. We'd have one podcast come out a year. Lambarda, 83, when Terry goes, did you make a necklace out of his fingers and lips? That was one of my funnier moments. I do sometimes have these funny moments when I come out with funny shit. But I did say that in the beginning, that I'd be doing these funny interviews and we'd be talking shit and it'd be funny shit. I did say that. So that is the wrap up, the grand finale of season 2. So again, I want to personally thank, on behalf of myself and the Criminal Connection podcast family, everybody who's commented on our episodes, the good, the bad and the ugly. We love hearing your stories, your comments, your thoughts, and receiving your abuse and also your praise. So thanks for that. Season 3 is coming up very soon. We've got 12 epic guests. And when I say, if you think season 2 was good, season 3 is going to blow you away. We've also got a new clothing brand being launched. The Criminal Connection are doing their own merchandise. There's going to be mugs for all the mugs in your life. There's going to be hats. There's going to be caps. There's going to be gloves, so you don't leave any fingerprints. There's also going to be T-shirts and hoodies. So all of this range is going to be launched and announced in season 3, where you can get a piece of the Criminal Connection merchandise and join the family officially. You can become part of the Podfather's crew. And we're going to also run a competition in season 3 where we are going to select the best comments and we are going to give people Criminal Connection merchandise. So there's actually an incentive for you to write a comment, and obviously the funniest ones, the best ones, the most engaged ones will win. Make sure you share the Criminal Connection podcast. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, because we can only grow and improve what we're doing with your feedback and support. So I want to say a big thank you to our season 2 sponsors, Dr. Green NFT and Unisystems Freight Handling. Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. We got 4 amazing sponsors for season 3. We're going to be announcing those next week when we launch the new season. And we've got, as I said, some unbelievable guests. So make sure you stay tuned. Thank you for listening. We'll see you on the other side.